All right. Man, if you're able, please come chop. If you're able, please come chop. Man, if you're able, please come chop. This fable. Come chop. All right. Uncredible Sources, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you are interested in being a part of the live, please hit the link in the comment section. We ain't gonna take too long, man. Don't want to take too much of your afternoon. LeBron James has made a decision. LeBron James is headed to the Philadelphia 76ers. I repeat, LeBron James is headed to the Philadelphia 76ers. Oh my Lord. As Shams Sharani has reported, let's get this pulled up. All right, Shams Sharani supports LeBron James. Philly contract is a 2-year, $8 million deal. 2-year, $8 million deal. Signed with Philly on the vet minimum. Exception. Now, I am going to get into why this makes sense and why this doesn't make sense. Well, not even why it makes sense or why it doesn't make sense. Pros and cons. I'm a LeBron fan. If you've been following LeBron for as long as I have, then you know a lot of this stuff is right up the alley of what LeBron would want to do, especially with all the speculating reports about him going to Miami, him wanting to go back to Cleveland. The Sixers was always in play. The Wolves were kind of in play. He had all these different narratives surrounding his different decision. And I'm going to tell you at the end of it why it kind of don't matter. But before we get to all of that, LeBron James has signed a 2-year deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. 2-year, $8 million deal. The cheapest deal that he's probably signed in his entire life. All right. We got that out the way. Why I'm shocked. Well, let's go why I'm not shocked. Let's go why I'm not shocked. So LeBron has been definitely hell-bent on steering narratives in his career. LeBron has been hell-bent on, I think, wanting to build the perfect team around his talents. Now, a couple of things that LeBron is going to have on his 76ers team and why I felt like he chose them in when it was all said and done. I've been quoted as much as yesterday saying that LeBron was better off suited going to Cleveland than he was anywhere else. It's home. It's a storybook ending. You got 2 all-star bigs. You got an all-star guard in Donovan Mitchell. They work out a deal to get James Harden. It's a perfect scenario. You don't have the ball. You don't have to dominate on the ball. You don't got to expend yourself too much on the defensive end. So that's why the Cleveland Cavaliers made perfect sense to me. If you wasn't going to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers, I thought the next best option was the San Antonio Spurs, who would also gave you the vet minimum. They got young gunners, Chan Penny, Dylan Harper. They still got De'Aaron Fox. And they got the most freakish basketball player that we've seen since LeBron James, which is Victor Wembanyama. So, in my mind, there was absolutely no way he was going to go to Philly because you have two options that are better than Philly, in my humble opinion. If you want to get out of the West, Spurs is the best bet. And they're willing to pay you the vet minimum, which you end up taking. If you want to get out of the East, Cleveland with you is better than anybody in the East. So when I get the news today that he ended up going to Philly, I'm shocked. Because I thought there were two teams that were way more suited for him than the city of Philadelphia. 76ers, who obviously is in a transition period, just picking up Jaylen Brown, working out young guns like VJ Edgecombe, working Tyrese into being one of the premier faces of this franchise, which he already is, but he's already a top 5 PG. And then you just don't know how the Joel Embiid thing is going to go because you don't know what his health looks like. So for a Sixers team that's still trying to find their identity and keep an identity for more than 2 years, I'm shocked that Bron chose Philly. But I'm also tell you why you shouldn't be shocked that Bron chose Philly. Numerous reports, and let's see. Numerous reports report that a part of the reason that LeBron was taking up so much time, as Bleacher Report, share the screen with y'all. Bleacher Report reported that part of the reason that LeBron was taking so much time was because he was looking to see if any of his potential suitors can trade for Anthony Davis or Kyrie Irving. Now, the reason why this is important, because it ain't the first time that we heard this. We actually been hearing this for like the last 4 or 5 days. We actually heard this at the top. We actually heard this at the top of LeBron deciding that he wasn't coming back to LA. That he was looking for potential suitors. That was the part of the Golden State scenario was him actually wanting to trade for Anthony Davis, see if they can get for Anthony, seeing if the Warriors can get Anthony Davis. A couple of weeks later, the Wizards report, we have no interest in trading Anthony Davis, which I said yesterday. Why would the Wizards trade Anthony Davis when you just got AJ DeBonza and you just re-signed Trae Young? You got a superstar in his prime, a young superstar coming into the league, and you got a vet superstar. That's a recipe for a good basketball team. So why would the Wizards trade AD? Go through all that trouble of trading for AD, trade for AD, and then just trade him away without him actually having to suit up in a Wizards jersey? Ain't no sense. So when the Wizards came out and said, hey, we're not interested in trading for Anthony Davis, all right, that takes the Warriors out of it. So to hear that he was still lobbying for Kyrie to go to Cleveland, or AD to go to Cleveland, or seeing if anybody that can if anybody can lobby and trade for one of these pieces that he wants to end his career with, which would be AD and Kyrie, it's not above the realm of comprehension when it comes to LeBron James because he is a narrative guy. And when you look at the split up between him and Kyrie, and you look at the split up between him and Anthony Davis. Kyrie decided to go to Boston. Anthony Davis getting traded in the middle of the season for Luka Doncic. Bron like, I don't know what happened. Bron like, I don't know what happened. I ain't know he was getting traded. And y'all was just at a team dinner the night before, right? Kyrie coming out and saying like, hey, like I was promised one thing by Dan Gilbert and the Cleveland Cavalier ownership, and then they turn around and they bring LeBron and he bringing K-Love and he making all these GM decisions. It didn't sit right with Kyrie because he thought he would be the face of the Cleveland franchise. And rightfully so. And again, with the AD situation, I didn't know AD was getting traded. It's hard to believe. So, in retrospect, you have not seen LeBron be tight with either of these two dudes since they stopped playing together. I'm not trying to speculate too much. Narrative is a LeBron James thing. Trying to right the ship, trying to go out with a bang, trying to win at least one more. Because he got one with AD, he got one with Kyrie. At least trying to win one more with his former teammates. Sounds right up the LeBron narrative alley. But again, if I'm Washington, I'm not trading AD. You know, I'm Dallas. I'm not interested in trading Kyrie right now. Definitely not for what is Miami going to give up? What would Cleveland give up to Dallas for Kyrie when we don't know how he's going to look coming over the Achilles? All right. Kyrie and AD are out of play. What else is LeBron to do? Besides take the suitors of besides take what's actually available in the moment. So let me see if I can find this graphic. Let me see if I can find this graphic that I ran across that showed him and his potential landing spots. All right, this is a good one. All right, come on. All right. So looking at the landscape, this was the potential landing spots for LeBron. Golden State Warriors. You see, you got Curry. Can't pronounce his brother's name. Draymond Green. Porzingis. Makes sense why he would want to trade for Anthony Davis, right? Cleveland. James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, himself, Evan Mobley, All-Star, Jared Allen, All-Star. All 5 All-Stars. Okay, which I felt like for the narrative and for basketball purposes would have been the best fit. This Spurs team, I felt like was the best fit if he wanted to get out of the West and potentially win a championship. Okay, this team was just in the finals. All right, the Knicks never was going to happen. Never was going to happen. Now, this is the team he ultimately decided to sign with. This is the projected starting 5 of the Philadelphia 76ers. Not bad, right? Not bad. Not bad, right? Not bad. Peace, Queen. Not bad. Not bad. Here's why he signed with the 76ers. Because he's never had a top 5 PG and a top 5 center on the same team at the same time. That's why he signed with the 76ers. I'm telling you my theory, but I'm telling you what I believe wholeheartedly. Because he was high on Tyrese Maxey, those reports came out. Him and Joel played in the Olympics together. He's never played with a top 5 PG and a top 5 big man at the same time. Go back and look at the years that he played with Anthony Davis. They didn't have a top 5 PG at the time. Russ was past his prime. Rondo was past his prime. Go look at the years that he played with Kyrie. Yeah, you can say Kyrie was top 5 PG at the time. He did not have one top 5 big at the time. He gets to play alongside this guy, who he loves, and this guy, who he loves. That's why Bron signed with the 76ers. He couldn't get teams to lobby for Kyrie or AD. So what's the next best option? Go where they already have what you want, which is a top 5 guard and a top 5 big. Oh, and they brought a guy that was just in the MVP race last year. LeBron is trying to do minimal. LeBron ain't trying to be out there wrestling and going back and forth with these youngins, man. He wants to make the biggest impact with the least amount of work. And that's why LeBron James signed with the 76ers. The biggest impact down the biggest stretches of the game with the least amount of work. With this current roster, giving Joel Embiid show up 50% of the season, LeBron would only have to play 45 to 50% of the season. This roster can get away with Bron playing 50-something games at max. Now, will he aim to play more games? Probably. Because I do believe this is his last year. The 2-year with the player option, smoke and mirrors. Forget about it. This will be LeBron's last year. But the reason he wanted to play for this basketball team, looking across the landscape, is because you would have to do minimal amount of work, but still be able to make the biggest impact. Or so we think. Because who's on Philly's bench? Can we see who's on Philly's bench? They picked up Anthony Simmons, Justin Edwards, Johnny Bron, Dean Wade, Ryan Rupert, Duke Miles. Who are these guys? You're probably asking me. I don't know. I don't know who these guys are. Let's go to Cleveland's bench. Who's Cleveland have coming off the bench? Jalen Tyson, Max Strus, young boy Malik Thomas, Dennis Schroeder, Sam Merrill, Thomas Bryant. So Philly and Cleveland's starting 5 is almost comparable. They're almost the same. Except Cleveland doesn't have an all-star outside of James Harden. Well, they got 4 all-stars, I'm sure. But but the bench. So will LeBron really be getting the best bang for his buck? Philly don't got a bench. They're not deep enough to really compete in the East. What's going to my next point? Does this make Philly a championship team? In theory, but do they have the bench to compete? I don't think so. I don't think Philly has the bench to compete. Boston's bench is deeper, Cleveland's bench is deeper, and the Knicks bench is deeper. So outside of wanting to play with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, I don't, I don't, it's like I get it, but I don't get it. From a basketball perspective, with this current Philadelphia 76ers bench, where do you plan on going? Joel's not going to play a whole season. Sure, you skip the play-in, but he's already shown he can't make it through a playoff series without getting hurt. So where do you think you're going? Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are healthy. They're in the game. They're in line. Those boys at the Spurs are healthy and they're young. Bron, where do you think you're going with this Philly roster? Brother, where do you think you're going with this bench? And I have healthy Joel Embiid. Where do you think you're going? Yes, they beat Boston for sure. Ski. Is Philly better than Boston right now? Probably, but that's where it stops. Does this Philly team really beat the Knicks? Can they really beat Cleveland in the 7 games? If the Toronto and Kawhi thing starts to settle out and Kawhi actually ends up in Toronto, can they beat Toronto? I mean, let's really talk about it. LeBron put sweat and equity in getting Houston out of there. What do you think you're going to do with a Joel Embiid who can't even make it through a playoff series without getting hurt? I don't know. I don't like, I get it because you want to play with an all-star guard. You want to play with a top 5 guard and top 5 big man. You've never had that in your career. And then you got a top 10 player, arguably, in Jaylen Brown. So that starting 5 is legit. And you can argue and say that Philly has the best starting 5 in basketball today. But that's where it stops. That's where it stops. Philly does not have the best collective team in basketball, which in the playoffs, you need a bench. And Philly does not have that. So I get this, oh man, the starting 5. All right, cool. That gets you out of the play-in. Probably get you top 3, top 4 seed. But when the bench has to come into play in the playoffs, that's where it is. And that's what I don't understand about this move. I just don't get it. What was it about Philly that made them so attractive? Obviously, you showing it wasn't about the money. You taking 2 years, $8 million. Obviously, you showing it wasn't about the location. You said family was a thing. You're moving way to Philadelphia while your family is going to stay on the West Coast. Okay, cool. That's not a thing. Fine. So all it comes down to is from a basketball perspective. And from a basketball perspective, respectfully, Philly does not make the most sense. Cleveland and the Spurs make way more sense from a basketball perspective than Philly does. So I don't get it. And quite frankly, I don't want to get it. I don't want to get it. You gonna go to Philly and you gonna start Tyrese, go ahead. Jalen, go ahead. Joel, go ahead. When Tyrese used to be in the man already. When Jalen Brown just got out of Boston to get to Philly to show that he the man, who you referring to? What we doing? Like, what are we really doing? Huh? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Peace to him, though. That's my man in 100 grand. I love Bron. This move in this place to end out his career makes no sense to me. I mean, it makes sense, but it don't make the most sense. So we'll see how it plays out. At best, again, are they really better than New York? I don't know. I honestly wouldn't say so. Are they better than Boston? Maybe. Probably not. Boston has a deeper bench. New York got a deeper bench. And Cleveland got a deeper bench. And again, if this Toronto thing works out with Kawhi, they deeper. That's 4 teams. Deeper than Philly. We can go over the regular season success. Philly's gonna win a lot of games. But when it gets to the playoffs, when it gets to the moment that matters the most, I just can't see it. I just can't see it. But peace to Bron, man. And we'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it turns out. Last thing, man, before I get up out of here, peace to everybody that's tuned in. Post your questions in the chat if you got any. Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu is on tomorrow. Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu is on tomorrow, man. In Australia. Actually, I gotta see what time the actual fight starts itself. But all right, Tim Tszyu versus Errol Spence. Obviously, this is Errol Spence's first fight since the layoff after the Bud fight. We don't know how he's going to show up. He looks good in training camp. He had reservations about the particular weight. They were supposed to be originally fighting at 154, but then it got up to 158, and now they're officially fighting at 160, which Tim Tszyu agreed with. I am hoping for the best for Errol Spence. I ain't gonna hold you. I want to see him come back strong, come back as complete as possible. Rodney Shields has been quoted saying that he put Errol Spence through hell. My dog Dill, he said this is the war, the wash war, which I found absolutely crazy and funny. He said this is the wash war. So hopefully neither one of these brothers look too washed. Obviously, Tim Tszyu suffered a couple of bad defeats to Pandora. So he's got something to prove. Errol's got something to prove, and it's in Tim Tszyu's backyard, being Australia. I'm just excited for the fight. You know, it's a pay-per-view fight. $80 for this pay-per-view is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. $80 for the Tim Tszyu Errol Spence pay-per-view without a belt on the line is kind of crazy. I ain't gonna hold you. Especially when we don't know what Errol decides to do after this. If he wins, it's highly speculated that he'll decide to retire. You know, if he loses, obviously he'll be done. If Tim Tszyu loses, he may be done. People are going off of Errol's demeanor going into this fight. Errol is never been the one to highly promote, highly be talkative in these interviews. He constantly repeats himself as then the third. That's Errol's character. Like Errol's not a big talker. Even with the Bud fight, he wasn't a big talker. He rather go in there and perform. And I don't think I've seen that change with this promotion. But I do see that some, is different. And I'm anticipating a couple of anxious rounds. Maybe him just dropping a couple of rounds due to being anxious and then getting his footing together, actually getting comfortable. I got him picking Tim Tszyu apart, and I got Errol in a unanimous decision. I don't think it's going to be a knockout either way. But I do have Errol in a unanimous decision, like 8-4 rounds. I'm rooting for Errol, man. But Tim Tszyu can come in there and move something. You never know. Tim Tszyu can come over there, can come in there and move something. You just never know how it's gonna go, man. So that is my prediction for the Errol Spence Tim Tszyu fight. Again, Bron the Philly, man. Peace to Bron, but it just don't. The Bron the Philly thing, I don't understand it. Because there's better teams out there that you could have went to, and you chose Philly. Actually, what I wanted to talk about, this is my theory. Y'all leave y'all comments in the comment section, please. What happened at the Rock Nation Fest? Oh, what happened at the Rock Nation Fest? What happened at Fanatics Fest? What happened at Fanatics Fest? Last weekend, the Jay-Z 3 nights at Yankee Stadium. Bron was obviously there. No, 2 weekends ago, you had Jay-Z 3 nights, Yankee Stadium. And then that following weekend, you had Fanatics Fest. I can't prove it yet. Rock Nation has something to do with this move. I can't prove it yet. Rock Nation has something to do with this move, man. Jay has something to do with this move. I can't prove it yet, but Rock Nation has something to do with this move. And if my boy goes outside, Rock Nation, you will burn for this. Huh? If my boy goes outside in Philly, Rock Nation, you will burn for this. Make no mistake about it. I'm gonna let my man say it. Because I can't prove it. But Rock Nation has something to do with this.
You who say you rose from the gutter, but you have traded and tortured the souls of young men, and you're still doing it. The only independent witness in this courtroom is a man whose name is Sean Kelly. He came to court, and our attorneys, he would not even shake their hand after he went upstairs with Kathy Tarr and Alex Bart.
They met on Saturday before. They met on Saturday.
Met with our witness. And then the man came back, and I sat in the hallway while he sat with Jody Little, the prosecutor's investigator, who acted so dumb, an intelligent woman who did not want, listen, I've seen so much evidence buried in this. wicked system of Rock Nation, including you, Jay-Z.
Yes.
You who say you rose from the gutter, but you have traded and bartered the souls of young men, and you're still doing it.
Jay, if you had something to do with Bron going to Philly, and it does not work out in the championship, we got real questions. We need answers to. You heard me? But peace to everybody that's tuning in, man. Appreciate y'all. Rock. Be tuning in. We'll probably do a live after the Errol Tim Tszyu fight tomorrow. Probably do a live then. Until then, man, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Follow on all platforms at Uncredible Sources. You heard me? Out.